Hello, and welcome back to another Dev Diary video on Imperator Rome. This one coming from Ario, the game director, over with the Imperator Rome team on military traditions. So we have a lot more good stuff coming in the Marius update 2.0 iteration of Imperator Rome. So let's just jump into it, shall we? Ario has to say, hi all. Today we'll be covering changes to military traditions, as well as showing you some iteration points on the new Invention system. Military traditions will be receiving a similar treatment to Inventions, which is apparent from this image here, and that they will now exist in a tree structure with a modicum of choice and continuing to be unlocked by their own unique resource, military experience. I will point out here quickly, before we continue, that this is currently how military traditions exist in the game. This is a description of how they currently are. Yeah, it's in a tree structure already. The tree is very linear, but it is a tree. There's a modicum of choice in that there are 3 branches to choose from, and you use it, you get them, you unlock them with the military experience resource, which you get by, fighting battles, and probably most commonly by drilling when you're not actually fighting. So you drill your armies when they're not in combat, and they accumulate military experience, which you then use to buy various military traditions. Okay, the military traditions screen currently appears as below, though it's worth noting that this view is very WIP, work in progress, and is likely to be entirely changed in the near future. Okay, well that's fine. We can take a peek-see here at what they're working with currently. So we have Greek Kingdom traditions. It looks better than the current military tradition tree, certainly. But it's about the same. It appears the same in terms of its intuitive nature. So instead of 3 branches, you now have 2, and looks like the naval branch, it starts becoming naval over here, and then you can research this ship, and right. So it's slightly intuitive, it's slightly logical, as is the current one. If I'm being completely honest here, it just looks like they've redone the branches a bit and added some thumbnails to the existing tradition system. But let's keep reading. Okay, so I immediately noticed here we have Greek Kingdom traditions and Greek polis traditions, and we're gonna get into that more as we read into the Dev Diary, but you will notice one thing immediately, that they are different, and therefore it's going to matter which place you play in. So I do think it's good that not all the cultures are just not all the culture groups are monolithic in that way. So you're going to have a difference between, I guess, the republics and the city-states, and in the Greek peninsula, as opposed to the Diadochi and the larger kingdoms, the Macedonian forces, as opposed to the southern, more Greek peninsula-based city-states. So that is very interesting. It's not immediately apparent how they differ, though I do notice some things are missing, such as this siege equipment. Now this could be from the Siege of Tyre, and that was an Alexander specialty, of course, with special siege towers and siege weapons that the Greek polis traditions simply don't provide. So that's an interesting caveat to think about. Now, let's continue. As you can see here, there are now twice as many trees as before. Yes, although they're similar to the previous trees. We've split up the existing trees into 2 themed parts, such as Greek Kingdom traditions and Greek polis traditions. As a Greek, for example, I would be able to follow either of these trees at the beginning of the game, but not both, apparently. The bonuses themselves have received a balanced pass, but haven't changed drastically at this juncture. Right, so we're pretty much dealing with... My hunch here is that, as of now in the development cycle, and possibly up until the release of 2.0, we're still dealing with essentially the same traditions. The traditions themselves aren't changing necessarily. It's just the structure of them, the tree, the choices, the manner in which you get there has changed, and the manner in which you fill out the tree has changed. Okay, the military flavor and abilities unlocked from old trees have been preserved and distributed. However, there's one notable exception to this. Ooh, how exciting. Okay, so before he provides an explanation, I'm going to just point this out right here. Embrace Levantine influence as Greek polis tradition. So, we see the military experience currency here. And we also, that's not what we care about. What we care about is Levantine influence. Embrace Levantine influence. So, as Greeks, you are obviously not from a Levantine culture group. Levantine culture groups are, the Hebrews, the Carthaginians, the Phoenicians, all of those. So, I think that this is really cool. This is exciting an addition here because, obviously, from this image, if you're Greek, you will be able to adopt Levantine military traditions. Unlike Levantine tradition group by embracing Levantine influence. I'm sure there'll be some sort of cost to this, maybe some happiness debuff to your own, your own culture group pops or some such thing. I don't know, but I'm guessing if you control the Levant or some such requirement, then you will be able, for a cost, to unlock the culture group of the cultural tradition. The tradition related to the culture group whom you've conquered will become available to you, I'm guessing. Okay, each of the new trees is now explicitly linked to a geographically adjacent or culturally related set of tradition trees. The Greek polis traditions, for example, allow you the ability to unlock Levantine traditions. So is that just default, or do you have to do something to earn that? If I may, the Greek polis traditions allow you to unlock the Levantine traditions. If you don't have to do anything to make this happen as a Greek polis, that's counterintuitive and counter-immersive. Why would you be able to unlock Levantine traditions as a Greek polis? Not sure. I think that you should have to control the area, certainly. Now, maybe this is just worded poorly. So the Greek polis traditions, for example, allow you the ability to unlock Levantine traditions. So you probably have to do something in order to get there. Now, does that mean that if you're somebody else, like, I don't know, if you're a Persian culture group, don't necessarily have access to Levantine traditions, even though you conquer the area? We'll see. Likewise, the Roman traditions allow you to opt into Greek traditions should you so desire. Now, shouldn't you have to conquer Greece in order to make that possible? I don't know. This isn't clear on that matter. That is an assumption of mine. I don't know how it would make sense for Romans to adopt Greek traditions if they don't control Greece. If they don't have a reason to adopt Greek traditions. We'll see how this works out. The unlock nodes. Okay, so there are unlock nodes, which means that in order to unlock, say, Levantine traditions, you need to fulfill the requirements of a given unlock node. Okay, the unlock nodes for these particular traditions are usually separated from the rest of the tree. It should remain inefficient to look further afield, though the opportunity to craft your civilization in different ways is a core part of the vision I have for Imperator. Yeah, that's what we are all looking forward to, REO. This does, of course, mean that should you be able to generate enough military experience, the sources of which will be discussed in a future Dev Diary, you will eventually be able to unlock almost any tradition category from anywhere in the world. Interesting. So, I think this means we can pretty much scrap everything I was just speculating about in terms of controlling the geographic area. This does not appear to be a requirement, as you will eventually be able to unlock almost any tradition category from anywhere in the world, simply by generating enough military experience. I'm not sure I like this. I think that you should have to control the region. You should have to interact with the culture in order to learn their traditions. I don't understand why you would be able to unlock these cultural traditions that are specific to a cultural experience and presumably decades or centuries or millennia of cultural traditions and modes of life. Why would your just because you're playing as somebody in a campaign does not mean that you should be able to know how to do that just because you accumulate enough mana, as it were, enough military experience. So I hope that this is a bit more nuanced than they are describing, and they are diversifying the sources of military experience, so that might come into play too. There's a lot of potential for military experience as a currency or a mana pool or whatever you want to call it. We'll see. We'll see if they get more creative with that. Okay, we've also added instant effect blocks to see these traditions. So as per Inventions, we're able to fire arbitrary script effects on adoption of a specific tradition. How exactly we use this is as yet undecided, but gives both us and modders a lot more power over making trees feel unique. Okay, well, it's cool that they are committed to having unique feeling trees, and I will look forward to that. They've made it pretty clear in this dev diary that the trees on display here are not the final version. And now we're back onto Inventions. The Technology and Inventions dev diary was very well received, but also came with some constructive community feedback. As we mentioned, we hadn't quite decided how to deal with the invention costs. So based on feedback and balance, we're dropping the gold cost for inventions. Awesome! Yes, that was a poor marker for determining if a civilization or a country or a faction is ready to adopt or to discover a new invention. Just if you have a pile of gold, you can pay for it. That's just so generic and cookie cutter. Glad they got rid of it. Innovations, as mentioned last week, will be required to unlock inventions, but will now be the sole resource for doing so. Good. I do think there should be a separate mana or a separate resource for the inventions as opposed to just your economic considerations. That could be a factor. I'm not saying it's not relevant at all, but I'm glad that you can have sort of a science or innovation focus, as it were, by trying to by prioritizing the accumulating the innovation resource, and maybe perhaps at the expense of other things, in order to get more techs. Instead of having the instead of having just the richer you are, the more techs you can get as a default matter. Now, of course, if you are richer, it's easier to get more techs because you have more resources on hand. But I digress. You got what I'm saying. Okay, these will be generated through technology levels, but may also be granted in special cases from elsewhere. Oh, that's cool. Maybe events? So I'm looking forward to all the various new events that we can expect in the 2.0 release. Right. This means that unlocking all inventions over the course of a campaign becomes more or less impossible. Good. Good. Unlocking all of the tech trees is definitely doable in the current build of Imperator Rome, and I like that they're going to make it more or less impossible, because you can't... It is already more or less impossible if you start, as a barbarian faction. What becomes important is the path you will take through them. Yes, that's awesome. So I do think that if you misallocate your resources, if you invest in the wrong tech or the wrong innovation, you're just trying to basically carpet seats the tech tree, as it were, trying to get everything, this isn't viable. You're not going to get everything. So you have to think carefully about which innovations, which technologies, which inventions your civ, your faction will be benefiting the most from, and how they work with your current innovations and inventions, and how they fit in with the goals, the short-term and long-term goals of your campaign. I do like it. I do like that everything here is done with a customization and unique flavor consideration as a priority. It's also added the need for more character and identity for some inventions in order to be able to craft your civilization into something unique that differs from playthrough to playthrough. I like that, definitely. So we'll take a look at this image. Well, one example of a new invention, I suppose, is liturgies. By invention cost. So yeah, let's not care about these number values because they have not worked out this resource yet, but base cost is 1. And what it does is it gets you, when activated, permanently gets sponsored public spaces, city building slots +4, and national taxes +10%. I guess it's level 6 up here. So, slinking through the tree. I don't see liturgies. Oh, here's liturgies. Okay. So level 6, it looks like it's in the middle of the tree, and it's ridiculously good. Look at that. Look at that. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, well, I'm not sure. These numbers are a work in progress, of course. But I do think that it's a reasonable takeaway by looking at this image to speculate that these inventions are going to be way more powerful than the current iterations that we have. This is anything to go by. 4 building slots and 10% national tax increase. It's ridiculous. Visual is still work in progress. The star means nothing and is debug only. Okay, cool. Here we've added another layer of choice making. You'll notice that some inventions have a unique ornament. This indicates a cornerstone invention that has significant or gameplay altering effects. I like that. I like that the tech from one invention to another isn't just grab this one, grab that one. You want to get to a specific cornerstone invention that will allow you to then branch off into different inventions that are more customizable, but you want to get that main thing first before you split off. This could be a significant modifier boost. However, it can also be one-shot effects. It can also be one-shot effects, such as raising stats of important characters or rulers. Cool. Unlocking related aspects to features, for example, great wonder building effects, or changing how you interact with characters. I'll provide a few examples below. Ooh, okay, so some of the inventions... So, interacting with mercenaries, for example, will now change. Mercenaries need a rework. I do hope that's coming as well, but I digress. Okay, mercenary benefits is the name of the invention by invention cost. Again, it's 1%. Acropolis Pergamon minus 10%. Don't know what this means. Okay, when activated, your mercenaries cannot be bribed or bought off by other players. Again, that's huge. That is way better than any tech, any invention currently available. And you also receive manpower recovery speed plus 10% and recruit mercenary cost minus 25%. These are huge. These inventions are really good. Another example, translated symbology. When activated, after this invention is unlocked, all children newly born to a deified character gain +1 to every characteristic, stat, whatever. When active, the cost to deify a ruler is reduced by 25%. Also good, because that cost, especially the stability hit, is pretty high. Okay, public slavery. When activated, imprisoning characters that are secret gamblers in debt or corrupt will no longer incur a tyranny or ruler popularity penalty. When active, national slave output plus 3%. Okay, so this also something just occurred to me. When active, this implies to me that you can only have a number of these inventions active at a time. Yeah, and especially given how OP they are in relation to their predecessors, it makes sense that you could only have a limited number active at one time. I mean, look at these. If you have just all 3 of these active, it'd be a huge boost to your faction. Okay, another UI solution you may have noticed is that these tree screenshots have all appeared at different zoom levels. We're implementing a common zoom area utility for tree graphics such as missions, inventions, and traditions, which will function similarly to the focus trees of HOI or the family tree viewer in Crusader Kings 3. That's all for now. Until next week, Ario. Okay, cool. So, I like this dev diary as well, fitting in with the rest of the 2.0 Marius update dev diaries we've been receiving. This is all very good stuff. I'm very excited for the inventions and the military traditions to work themselves out a bit. I do want to reiterate that I think there should be some requirement besides just accumulating the resource to unlock foreign military traditions. You should have to control the geographic area, and you should have to interact with the people of the culture in order to get the traditions, in my view. That's my only real criticism here. Otherwise, this looks great. This looks great. I would love to know what you have to say about the military traditions or about what Marius 2.0 in Imperator Rome has to offer. Are you looking forward to it? What else would you like to see? Which elements of it so far do you like the most? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, please comment, like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.